Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we have come upon the time where I rank the 10 most disappointing films that I've seen this year. And honestly, I get no enjoyment out of watching horrible movies. Unless they're in the category where it's so bad it's good, where I could laugh at it. And unfortunately, that's not the case with these 10 films. And before we begin every entry on this list, I have done a review on my channel. I forgot to mention that in my previous video. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. Number 10. Okay, starting off this list is a film I seriously question why Disney even wanted to continue the story, and that is Mufasa the Lion King. I honestly didn't care for how Mufasa met Scar. I didn't care for the characters. I thought musical numbers were just absolutely abysmal. This whole film was just one incoherent mess. Makes me glad actually that Sonic the Hedgehog 3 is kicking Mufasa's ass at the box office. You know what they say, money talks. And maybe this will finally wake Disney up to say, hey, let's stop making these live adaptations because you can't beat a classic. Another thing I want to point out, let's go ahead and throw Lilo and Stitch in the category. And I know what you're saying, that movie's not out yet, but I don't have high hopes for that one either. Number 9. Yeah, this next entry on the list, I thought it was going to be at least somewhat interesting, but it ended up being a dumpster fire. That is Trap. I don't know why M. Night Shyamalan thought it was a good idea to put his daughter in here. I mean, she gave one of the worst performances I ever seen in a movie. Not just that, the characters are boring, some of them make asinine decisions, and the bad guy escapes the police more than once. It seems to be a lack of logic with this, as going through the entire journey of these characters, nothing makes sense. It's all a big failure, and well, when it's all said and done, it's just a huge waste of time, and quite frankly, just a forgettable cinematic experience as well. Number 8. Up next, Founders Day. Yeah, someone was inspired by Scream, but instead of making this interesting, they made this quite forgetful, with boring characters, a plot that is not even there, and a bad guy who didn't even really stand out. What's interesting is that this year was also a bad year and a good year for horror films, but this one right here is just a generic slasher film that, well, just quite not memorable in any way imaginable. Number 7. Alright, this next one is also horror, but it's even more disappointing in my opinion, and that is The Watchers. Seriously, a slow pace, underdeveloped characters, and underwhelming plot twists makes this quite forgetful. And I remember after watching this movie, I was saying to myself, this could have been so much more entertaining. I just felt so tired watching it. Number 6. At this point of coming up with entries on my list, I realized that Venom Hunter definitely such a horrible adventure. Sony is like, hey, let's take a popular Spider-Man villain, make him an anti-hero, and have him chase poachers. Yeah, that's the concept of this entire movie. Why not even have Kraven hunt Venom? That would make more sense. Boring characters and forgetful plots, action scenes not really worth a damn. And it's at this point Sony should just stop trying, like, really, please stop. And you know what's funny? This film, as of this recording, has made less than 100 million worldwide, and that speaks volumes. Give it up, Sony, because trying to make a Spider-Man-less universe is not the way to do it. Number 5. This next film had potential to be great, but it just turned into an absolute nightmare, and that is Megalopolis. Even the all-star cast couldn't save this disaster. From the boring acting to the forgettable characters to even the plot, which was very underwhelming, nothing here really stood out. Well, maybe the visuals, but even that is much to be desired. I'm guessing Francis Ford Coppola, him come up with the script on the fly, really hurt this film in the long run. And the thing is, it's just generic, it's nothing special, and it's also one of the worst movies, hence why it's on my list. Number 4. Now, I always liked the Joker character, and Todd Phillips' first Joker film made over $1 billion. I loved it. There were so many great things about it. The sequel, Joker Folie à Deux, is abysmal. It's like Todd Phillips made this film out of spite, giving the middle finger in the process to DC executives, Warner Bros., and of course us, the fans. It could have gone a lot of ways with the sequel. They could have Art take over Gotham. They could have had him do 100 other things. But no, we get this generic BS story where he falls in love with Harley Quinn. They're dancing, they're singing. I was bored with this one, y'all. I hate it. It should never exist. There are theories out there to why it happened in the first place. But regardless on why we had gotten this film, this is still another mediocre entry in the long line of DC movies from Warner Brothers. Number 3. This next movie, I honestly thought it could have been a TV series, but it became the awful Borderlands. Seriously, this one is so abysmal. I was like saying to myself, why does it even exist? It's like one night Eli Roth played the first video game and he decided to make a PG-13 film where nothing really special happens. The actors are horribly miscast, the characters are just generic. But as good as video game adaptations are nowadays, we get one every once in a while that just is hot garbage, and that is what this movie's all about. Number 2. So up next is Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scar Giver. I seriously couldn't stand this. It's like a discount Star Wars. And I appreciate what Zack Snyder had done in the past with some of his films, but man, this one right here, it's more boring than the first. Generic characters. And this time, make it worse here is that they don't get any great character development. They go to outer space, or a moon, I should say. And well, it's just generic slow motion shots that don't amount to anything special. I was bored with this. I didn't care what happened. I was glad when it was over. And the thing is that this was re-released earlier this year. I was like, no, I'm not watching your shitty movie twice. And I couldn't even stand it the first time. I heard there's talk of sequels. I'm not looking forward to those movies. Number 1. And finally, at the number 1 spot, it's a movie that had not only pissed me off, but it's something no one ever asked about or even wanted, and that is Man Web. Yeah, what a dumpster fire this was. The actresses didn't feel like they wanted to be there. It was so bad that Sydney Sweeney had talked shit about this film even before it came out. At least she was able to turn her career around from this dumpster fire. Boring characters, a horrible plot, and a bad guy that would just discount Black Spider-Man. Like seriously, what in the hell was he supposed to be anyway? Whatever, I just didn't have any fun with this, and Sony really needs to stop making these films. I know I said that earlier before, but this one right here is like the perfect storm of a generic, incoherent mess that I don't ever want to watch ever again. And well, there you have it. That is my top 10 worst movies of 2024. I just wanted to take the time out and say I love and appreciate all you guys hanging out with me once again this year. I really appreciate it. I've been on YouTube for 7 years at this point, and it's just great to read your comments anytime you say, hey, I really like your channel, or I like this movie, or this video game, etc. It really warms my heart because I've been doing this for a very long time. Alright, I want you guys to go down below in the comment section and let me know what was your worst movies you've seen this year. And with that, I will see you guys in the new year. Be safe out there. And also remember to stay classy. Alright, this is Slim Guy 172 saying peace out.